3 experienced pilots, 1 airplane, a routine flight. Only the aircraft came back. That sentence alone is enough to make every pilot, especially those who've spent decades in the sky, pause and reflect. It's a chilling reminder that aviation doesn't just challenge our skills. It tests our judgment, our decision-making, and our assumptions about safety. Because what happened here wasn't the result of recklessness in the usual sense. It wasn't about ignoring weather or flying beyond skill. It was a cascade of small decisions, each reasonable on its own, that combined to create a tragedy no one saw coming. It started like thousands of flights before it. 3 pilots met early one morning at a small, quiet general aviation airport. All licensed, all current, all experienced. There were no passengers, no tourists, no stunt, just seasoned pilots preparing for what they assumed would be a simple local flight. They walked around the aircraft, checked fuel and oil, ran through the pre-flight checklist, and glanced at the weather briefing. Light winds, visibility slightly reduced but within legal limits. Marginal, yet flyable conditions. The kind of day where the decision is gray, not black or white. And here's the first subtle mistake: familiarity disguised risk. Each decision seemed small, rational, and safe. Yet in aviation, small errors compound fast, especially when confidence and routine mask underlying hazards. They took off. The initial climb was normal. Radios hummed in routine chatter. The aircraft soon disappeared into low clouds, as pilots of their experience often navigate, relying on instruments, their memory of the terrain, and their seasoned judgment. And then, silence. No mayday, no distress call, no last-second transmission. Just quiet. Hours later, the aircraft was found, mostly intact, with no catastrophic failure. Engine running, wings intact. The plane had flown itself into terrain under controlled flight, leaving no survivors. 3 pilots, 1 airplane, and nothing returned. This is where the question becomes unnerving. How do seasoned pilots, who know better, end up in such situations? One critical factor was authority diffusion. On paper, having 3 experienced pilots in the cockpit sounds ideal. More eyes, more brains, more experience. But in reality, it can produce the opposite effect. When everyone is capable, no one takes full responsibility. Decisions become softer. Concerns remain unspoken. Doubts aren't voiced because someone else is surely thinking about it. This silent agreement, this unspoken reliance, is more dangerous than flying alone without experience. Ask yourself, have you ever assumed another pilot has it under control and stayed silent, even when something felt off? That hesitation, silent, rational, almost polite, is a factor in countless GA accidents. Second, normalization of marginal conditions. Most fatal general aviation accidents don't happen during storms. They occur in conditions that are just on the edge of safety: slightly low visibility, light but variable winds, or clouds at marginal altitude. Experienced pilots, having navigated these conditions before, tend to normalize them. What feels routine becomes deceptively risky. We start believing, I've done this 100 times before, it's fine. And therein lies the trap. Confidence replaces caution. Risk becomes invisible until it's too late. When was the last time you canceled a flight just because conditions felt slightly off, even though legally acceptable? This is the type of decision that separates safe flights from tragic outcomes. Third, over-trust in machinery. Modern small aircraft are incredibly reliable. Engines almost never fail. Avionics perform flawlessly, and autopilots can hold headings better than most humans. This reliability breeds complacency. Pilots start to trust that the aircraft will always perform, which can lull judgment into a false sense of security. During the critical moments when visibility decreases, workloads spike, and situational awareness narrows, the machine continues to function perfectly, even as human decision-making falters. This paradox is devastating. The airplane does exactly what it should, but human perception fails. Fourth, group dynamics and peer pressure. 3 pilots, all confident, all experienced. Sounds safe, right? But it also creates an environment where hesitation feels like weakness. Nobody wants to appear overly cautious, especially among peers with similar experience. Every pilot knows the social pressure: speak up and risk being seen as timid, stay quiet and risk unseen danger. Often, the latter wins. This social factor is underestimated, yet it plays a silent, deadly role in accidents involving multiple pilots. Think about your own cockpit experiences. When did you hold back an opinion or a concern because you assumed someone else would manage it better? That restraint can be fatal. Fifth, the illusion of control. Experienced pilots develop a mental model of how things should behave in flight. Engines run smoothly, instruments function reliably, weather is predictable. This experience becomes a double-edged sword. When conditions begin to degrade subtly, slightly reduced visibility, minor turbulence, or an unfamiliar cloud layer, the pilot may not recognize the danger. Over time, the confidence in control can evolve into a blind spot. This flight demonstrates the deadly risk of that illusion. The pilots trusted themselves, trusted each other, trusted the machine, and none fully appreciated the cumulative risk of all three combined. Sixth, the human factor in aviation aging. As pilots grow older, reaction times may not decline dramatically, but judgment under uncertainty can subtly shift. Experience teaches to manage risks, but it also teaches that marginal situations are normal. The brain relies more on pattern recognition than raw sensory input. In marginal weather or complex situations, even highly skilled, experienced pilots may fail to perceive or act on subtle threats. This is not failure. It's the natural consequence of human cognition, magnified by experience and familiarity. The airplane came back, intact but lifeless. The irony is cruel. The aircraft survived long enough to make the return flight. Systems functioned flawlessly. Engines worked, yet the humans who had mastered this machine were lost. The lesson is stark. Machines may never break, but human judgment can fail in silent, almost invisible ways. This story should make us reflect deeply. Should multi-pilot GA flights enforce clear authority structures, even among friends? Should we treat marginal weather with even more caution rather than relying on experience? Should common phrases like, "let's just go take a look," be treated as serious warnings rather than reasonable plans? I want you to think about these questions and share your honest thoughts in the comments below. Don't hold back. Discuss authority, peer pressure, marginal conditions, and judgment. These are the conversations that save lives. 3 pilots took off. Only the airplane came back. Let's make sure we learn from their story and ensure the next story doesn't include us.